Hello YouTube friends, what I have here is what appeared to be a steal of a deal, so stay tuned and find out if it really was. This is the Mijello Mission Gold Class Watercolors, and the reason it was a steal of a deal, at least as far as I can tell, is that this is the 36 color set with the palette. And I found it on Amazon for $65 and some cents. And if you look on Jerry's Artorama, this set is $180, just under $180. And if you look on Dick Blick, this set is almost $200. So when I saw that, and I even went back like the next day and double checked because I wasn't going to buy new watercolors. I don't need them, don't really want them. I mean, how can we not want watercolors? But you know what I mean? I was trying to use what I have. But I was afraid that Amazon would catch on that Dick Blick and Jerry's are selling this exact same set, the 7 milliliters, 36 set with the same palette. It's exactly the same thing, for so much more money. So as of today, this is still on Amazon for $65 and some odd cents. But it is also still on Jerry's and Dick Blick for those high prices. So yeah, like I said, I was afraid Amazon was gonna catch on and raise their prices, and I'm like, well, I didn't think Mission Gold was that expensive to start with. So I was kind of surprised that Jerry's and Dick Blick were that much money, but I don't know. I know these are gaining popularity and decided that I would just bite the bullet before anyone else caught on how expensive they're getting. So this is what we have, and these are, like I mentioned, 7 mil watercolor tubes. Pull one out so you can see it. Okay. And what I'm going to do is set this palette up and also set up a swatch card that's in this shape, because I need my swatch cards to be in the same shape or I get confused. So that's going to take some time, and I'm going to squeeze out just a little bit in each one because I'm not sure exactly how I want my colors to be arranged, because I've never had this many colors all at once. The most I've ever had, I guess, is 24 with my core, but I don't know, for some reason this just seems like so much more, but it's only 36. All right, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit into each one and make my swatch card, and then we'll do a little project with them. So this should be fun. I'm actually kind of not looking forward to it because there's a lot of these, and yeah, and I don't know, like I said, what order I want them in. So I'm going to be very careful putting them out. Like maybe they're in these boxes in a special order, and I just don't have enough experience with this many colors to know where I might want them. So I'm going to fast forward you, and we'll see you in a while. While for me, a second for you. And the only thing to really note here is that none of the tubes had separated paint and binder, so that was really nice. So on each of these tubes, there's the light fastness rating and the pigment code, whether it's transparent and staining. And I didn't see anything that said granulating, although I wasn't really paying attention at first, so I don't know if they say if they're granulating or not, but that's what we have so far. So here it is, all set up. I think I just stuck my finger in it because I'm good at that, but we got some 36 pretty colors. Let's see what they look like on paper. So for this part, I grabbed my Arches 9x12 pad and just cut some up. This is 140-pound cold pressed cotton watercolor paper. And the 12 inches wasn't quite the full width, but with the lamination that I'll be doing later, it ends up being just about right. And then you can see I'm marking the slots, or trying to, and then have to kind of just pull the ruler across for those middle sections, so no big deal. And because I traced where the wells actually were, the slots aren't actually even on my swatch sheet, but it follows the round curve of the palette itself, and that's really all I cared about and all I want. And I'm using a Sharpie for this because I found the Sharpie works best actually to not smear with watercolor over it. All right, we've got colors, swatch sheet, brush, bamboo paper towel. Let's hope we don't mess this up. Here we go. So this is that indigo. If you watched my dot card sketchbook video, apparently I can't swatch and talk at the same time. Anyway, if you watched that video, I talked about how this indigo was so strange. It wasn't what I expected at all. So, looks a little more blue here in this swatch than what I got out of it. Actually, let's pull that out and look. Got it right here. And all the crashing in the background. Let's see here. Yeah. So I don't know. Does look a little bit bluer, but not much. Maybe it's the same. I mean, it's still not the blue like these are. But now we have a big thing of it. And back to the swatching. Every color laid down nicely. It's nice and bright and nothing seemed chalky, so it was a great start. So that is one side so far. It's taken a while, but not too bad. Before I move on real quick though, I want to show you the white dots. Hopefully you can see that. Like, it's not quite fully covering the paper. And I did make sure that I was on the correct side of this paper, even though it really doesn't matter a whole lot with arches, but anyway, yeah, some of those. And now zipping through the second half of the swatching. And swatching is always a little bit satisfying, but a little bit tedious. Here I've cut to me swatching this in real time so that you can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is one little square swatch and it takes quite a bit of time, and I even cut down a little bit of the beginning of this swatching, so yeah, it's a little tedious, but it's really cool to see how the colors react to water and how they lighten up when you add more water. So it is satisfying, like I said, but it takes a while. Phew, we did it. That took 31 minutes, according to the camera. So these, yeah, they're pretty colors. So there's that white speckling on this side as well. You can notice it especially in this color, and these two. These aren't dry yet, so I'm not sure, but so I'll be curious to see what happens. So what I'm going to do is try a demonstration on Arch's 140-pound cold press, but I'm going to try it from a different pad just to give it the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see what we come up with. I say that a lot. One thing before I forget is this is the first time that I have swatched with this silver black velvet brush, and it's a round size 6, and I will not swatch with it again. It has too flexible of a tip, and so I would prefer for this kind of activity one with a firmer tip. So definitely going to not swatch with this one in the future. I have always swatched with, hold that thought, I'm almost coming back. This brush. All right, Cotman Winsor & Newton size 10. So I actually said that backwards. It's a Winsor & Newton Cotman size 10 round. And it just is a much firmer, less flexible tip because it's shorter. You can see the difference in the points there. So anyway, definitely going to stick to my usual swatching brush or something similar. I mean, this one's pretty big, but if I can find another in my collection that has a shorter tip like that, I'll definitely use that. All right, if you have stayed with me this long so far, thank you so much. You are awesome. We are about to start the demonstration. I'm just going to name these real quick in case the tubes get out of order. I'm also going to laminate my swatch card, and I ended up having to cut them in half because I didn't have laminating sheets long enough, which was such a bummer, but not too big of a deal because I just taped them together with heavy-duty packing tape in the end. So that's how they look laminated. Pretty nice, I think, overall. And while I had the laminator out, I pulled all the swatch sheets out of my other sets and laminated those as well because it's been a while since I have found my laminating sheets. And just took forever to get them cut to size so they would actually fit in there with the lamination around them without ruining the lamination. But here you can see I'm taping that up, and then I decided to use a ribbon so that I can pull it out of the palette really easily. So if you've ever tried to pull your swatch card out of your palette, sometimes it gets stuck and you're trying to stick your fingernail in there. So I just taped that ribbon onto it, and it's going to make it really easy. So this is the direction it will open up, usually, the palette. So I made sure the ribbon would work in that direction. So that's the top. When you open it up, your swatch sheet's most likely going to end up just like you saw it there. And then if you put it in the top, then you'll have the ribbon there to pull it out as well. So it's going to work out pretty nicely. And I'll just shut it just like that. And next time I go to use it, open it up, pull it out, and use it. And here I have the watercolor pad. Actually, it's the watercolor block. And I've just taped it so that I have two different paintings that I can work with. And I'm going to use masking fluid. I'm going to do a little campfire on this one. And down at the bottom, I will use masking fluid for a mountain in the distance so that I can run my wash right over all of this stuff without worrying about it. And I brought out 3 brushes, my Winsor & Newton Cotman size 12, Winsor & Newton Cotman size 10, and my Silver Black Velvet size 6 round. They're all round, and I ended up only using the Winsor & Newton Cotman size 12 and the Silver Black Velvet brush round 6. And here I switched to real time just for a moment, just so you don't sit through an entire video of fast forward. You can see I'm just dabbing in the colors around the campfire, and then the bottom's obviously going to be a reflection in the water. And in my mind, I envision this taking place inside a cave, and the cave has a body of water in it. So it'll be interesting to see how it turns out. I'll move you back to fast forward here very shortly, don't worry. But in case you wanted to see how the paint plays in the water, I actually have the whole background filled with water at the moment. And so it's just a big wash, or wet and wet wash here, but controlled because I'm just dotting in the color. So I guess wash might be overstating it a little bit. It's kind of interesting here because I'm using a new paint to me, and so how does it play with water? And if you use a certain amount of water, does it really wash it out? Does it make it dry super light? All those questions I had, and these little paintings really helped me answer some of that. So I know now for sure that I definitely want to use these paints with less water and more pigment. And here I've come to real time again for you, so you can see how I'm dabbing the land in there, and the background is wet, so it is spreading, which is exactly what I want. I want it to kind of finger out and spread a little bit so that I get that washed out look, basically. Distant look, if you will. So this here is a little painting that I did in oils back when I was a teenager, and I'll pop that up on the screen for you. I don't have a great picture of it, but because it has a glass front, and so it's hard to get a good picture of it. But anyway, I'll pop that up on the screen for you anyway, so you can see what it is that I'm redoing. In a sense, I changed some things because, you know, I can. But in general, it's kind of the same painting. And I did not mean for that mountain right there to be smack in the middle of the paper. I thought when I was drawing it, it was a little bit more to the right, but it ended up smack in the middle of the paper. And it's not my favorite thing in the world to have it right there, but it is what it is. And I got to use the paint, and that was the big deal for me. So we're good. We're good. And something about that guy sitting on that log, looking out at the scenery, it's a nice feeling. I really like it. And I used masking tape right there to take off the masking fluid. And masking tape just works really well. It just grabs it nicely, and I like it. So I put a little reflection on the mountain down there and moved back up to the top to work on this little cave painting, since the background is dry and I can layer colors without being a huge big deal. So back in, putting in lots of colors. And here I went to real time because I want to show you how I use the ruler to get a straight line across there. So, you know, on the picture below, that would be called the horizon line. And this here, it's just basically like a shoreline of the inside of the cave where the guy and his dog are sitting or going to be sitting. Spoiler alert. When you do that, make sure you wipe off your ruler so that you don't ruin your next painting. That's very important. You gotta remember that. Just tell ya. Here I am using masking fluid again. Not masking fluid, masking tape. You know what I meant, right? I'm sure you knew what I meant. I love how it just keeps that really big bright section in the center there for the campfire. And then I'm adding the little logs. And then I kind of ruined the big bright section in the middle. That's my bad. I was trying to get some fire glows off the logs and it went a little bit out of control. So yeah, my bad. And here I have a dog and it kind of looks like Yoda, but it's his little ears. They're like straight back, like he's listening to something. So, you know, work with me here. It's a dog. And then here's my guy, and I like how he turned out. He's just kind of relaxing with his arm behind him. Putting their little reflections in the water. Ooh, we get to take the tape off. Oh, there we go. There we go. 2 done paintings with the mission gold. So, I'm signing them. It's very important. You got to sign your work, right? And real quick here, you have to use basically a blunt object to get your paper out of the pad, out of the block. And I used just my ruler, and then I'm cutting it in half to separate the paintings and erasing the pencil line that I had drawn between them. And here they are. I darken up that guy a little, I believe, after this, but I'm not sure. So anyway, the Mission Gold paint was fun to work with. I'm curious to work with it again. I am going to try some of the coloring book pages with it and some of my own other paintings. I did have to refresh the permanent red in here. I used it all up by the time I was done because I did go back in and touch up that cave painting, make the border around that a little darker, and made my guy a little darker down at the bottom so that he wasn't so transparent. And then I used a little liner to give him some pockets in his pants, so that was kind of fun. So yeah, my first impression of these paints is they're nice enough. They didn't seem chalky, nothing dried chalky. The paintings still looked bright and vibrant even a couple of days later, so I like them so far, and we'll see as I use them in bigger, better projects what I think. But for now, I have a favorable feeling about them. So anyway, thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate your time, that you took so much time to spend with me. If you like these kinds of videos, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button. It really helps my channel out, and we will see you in the next video.